Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Friday Night Smackdown review. And Smackdown tonight was from the Amway Center in Orlando. This is the first Smackdown that they are doing from the Amway Center. It was live again because WWE is going live again with their shows from Smackdown to Monday Night Raw to their pay-per-views. They're going live once again. And so they moved out of the PC, out of the Performance Center, and they are at the Amway Center for now. I think they're going to be here until, I think, October or November, somewhere around there, from what I've heard, though. But it's cool that they are in a arena again. Of course, no fans. But tonight marked the debut of the Thunderdome, which WWE is doing. They're having their fans on like a LED in the arena. It's virtual fan experience with this Thunderdome, and fans are watching. What the superstars are doing in the ring, and it's kind of like a Zoom chat, but they're just mainly watching what's going on. And you have to sign up, put in like your name, your last name, your email on WWEThunderdome.com. So you put all that information in, and you could watch what's going on in the ring on the shows, whether it's Raw or Smackdown or their pay-per-views. And they have a really strict guidelines to it, where you can wear their merchandise, their WWE merchandise, whether it's a shirt or a cap, or if you have a title around you, or like carrying one of their titles. But you can wear like an AEW shirt, because if you wear that, then they're going to boot you out of the Thunderdome stream. So, but I liked how the way the Thunderdome looked. I thought it looked cool, and WWE is using like drones, to fly around, capture like all the fans, on the LED with this whole virtual fan thing in the Thunderdome. But it looked cool. But watching the show as the show progressed, I have to say this Thunderdome, while it looks cool, but I have to say it is a failure. And why do I say that? Is because WWE ended up putting in fake crowd noise throughout the whole show. And you saw the fans, they were just watching. They weren't, making any noise, because WWE looked like they muted everybody that were basically watching, from the stream, or, the Zoom thing on the Thunderdome. And they just put in this fake crowd noise. And it was absolutely terrible. I'm like, they should have just, put everybody who was on that, that stream, watching along, have them make some noise, not put in this fake, shitty crowd noise that you could hear on the WWE 2K games. Unbelievable. I have to say, like I said, it's a failure. They should have just had everybody cheer there who were watching along. You had people that I saw in that whole vicinity of crowds there. They looked bored. Like, some of them were like looking like, that's what they look like. That's what I saw. You had one guy in the Bayley and Sasha segment, and guy was wearing a cap, and Bailey was like standing there, and all you see the guy do is roll his eyes like, and he was possibly thinking, oh man, when is the show gonna end? And I have a picture of this that surfaced online. 2 fans were passed out. They fell asleep during the show. And here's the picture to prove it. It's fucking hilarious. Here it is. Oh my god. Oh, fucking hilarious. These 2 fans fell asleep during the show. Oh man. But I had to get all that out there, explain my thoughts on the Thunderdome. Like I said, it looked cool, but it was proven a failure. But overall, the SmackDown show tonight, it was the go-home show for SummerSlam, and it was an absolutely horrendous show, in my opinion, outside of the Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles match, which should have been on the SummerSlam card, and you had the stuff with The Fiend at the end, which was cool, and Sonya Deville's promo that she ended up cutting was really good, which, you all know what happened with Sonya Deville this week, and that stupid fan who, thank God, is behind bars, where he ended up trespassing or doing a home invasion to kidnap Sonya Deville. That freaking schmuck, which I'll get to explain that when I talk about Sonya Deville's promo. But all in all, like I said, the show was horrendous tonight. So I'm going to jump right into the review. So SmackDown opened up, and we had the pyro going off, and the shot of the Thunderdome in the Amway Center, which looked awesome. And then you saw the fans on the LED board watching the show. And then we went to Vince McMahon. He was in the ring. It was announced that he was going to appear on SmackDown tonight. So Vince was in the ring. He welcomed us to the Thunderdome. And he ended up saying that no one brings thunder like WWE. And he's like, which is why we'll never see it coming this Sunday at SummerSlam. So then Vince gets interrupted by The Fiend. The lights go down in the arena. Vince was looking around, and we had the Virtual Boy turned on with the red light in. And Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, made his way down to the ring. So he ended up carrying everything, his head lantern, got in the ring. Vince was staring at The Fiend as The Fiend entered the ring. And they were just face to face, The Fiend and Vince. And then we see The Fiend, of course, he sticks his tongue out, laughing at Vince. And then we have this, this horrible fake crowd noise there. So it looked like The Fiend was going to take out Vince, which we thought was going to happen. But Braun Strowman ended up coming out. Braun Strowman, a.k.a. Big Show's twin brother, because of Braun Strowman's bald haircut. So, but yeah, Braun Strowman and Big Show are not brothers, though. I just had to make a joke about that because of Braun Strowman's haircut. So, because he looks like the Big Show. But So then we had The Fiend end up turning around, focused on Strowman. Strowman then climbed into the ring, and he stared The Fiend down. Vince left the ring, of course, and Strowman ended up telling The Fiend that his door is open. And so then we saw Retribution appear on the ring apron, and they were distracting Strowman and The Fiend. And we had like more members of Retribution there. Then we had like maybe like 10 members of Retribution there. I couldn't even count. I was trying to count how many members that Retribution have now. And apparently they got more than what they had before. So Retribution was surrounding the ring with Strowman and The Fiend in it. The Fiend ended up kept staring at Strowman. Strowman ended up nodding his head. The Fiend ended up nodding his head. And the lights ended up going out. It was black in the Amway Center. And then the lights came back on, and The Fiend disappeared. And it was only Strowman and the members of Retribution who were still standing on the ring apron there. So Retribution then ended up coming into the ring. They all end up attacking Strowman. And Strowman tries to fight some of them off. But of course, there's too many of them there. There's too many members of Retribution there. Like I said, there was more members here than what they had before. So then we had Biggie, Chad Gable, Jey Uso, Matt Riddle, Sheamus end up coming down. And Retribution tried to keep them all from entering the ring. And then we had Corbin, Gulak, Otis, and Styles come down also. Then we saw Dana Brooke come down. And they all tried to clear the ring of Retribution. And Gulak ended up helping Strowman to his feet. And Retribution retreated into the stands, into the crowd. And Gulak helps Strowman to his feet, as does Jey Uso. Strowman gets up to his feet. He ends up dropping Gulak. And then he ended up tossing Jey Uso over the top rope. And Strowman was furious. He ended up marching out of the ring and went to the back. And that was basically that. And The Miz was the last superstar to come out. And that, I'm like, why did The Miz come out last? You know, when Retribution is gone. So, I mean, that was basically what happened, though. But this was pretty cool, you know, with the Fiend in there, with Vince, and you know, you had more members of Retribution come. And then we had the first match, Biggie versus Sheamus. This was, in my opinion. You had the superstars surrounding the ring to prevent, you know, Retribution from coming out. You had the lights, you know, dim a little bit here in the match, you know, thinking that Retribution was going to be coming out. And like I said, the match was meh, in my opinion. Biggie ended up winning the match, and before he won the match, you had Corbin ended up going at it with Matt Riddle. Riddle fought back at Corbin. A brawl broke out on the outside. Sheamus was preparing to hit the bro kick to Big E, and the distraction, Sheamus got distracted from what was going on the floor, and it led to Big E rolling Sheamus up for the win. There you go. Big E ended up winning the match. But overall, very meh match. Didn't even care for it. So then we saw Lucha House Party. They were walking backstage because their match was happening next. And we saw Cesaro and Nakamura. They end up attacking Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik from behind. And then Kalisto, who made his return last week. Kalisto, looks good, like his new mask here that he has, and looks good in shape. After him being out for a couple of months. So, but Kalisto then end up checking on Dorado and Metalik, and that was that. So, also we saw Jeff Hardy was getting his leg checked out because someone fell on Hardy from behind. And that Michael Cole ended up announcing that. So, and then you hear Jeff Hardy asks the medic if they can give him a brace because he doesn't want to miss his match with AJ Styles later on in the night. And that match was for the Intercontinental Championship, which should have been on the SummerSlam card. And then you had the Smackdown Tag Team Championship match, Lucha House Party versus Cesaro and Nakamura. And this match was just meh, in my opinion. This was another meh match. You had Cesaro and Nakamura win it. They retained the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, where you had Cesaro rolling up Lince Dorado for the pin. And in post-match, Cesaro and Nakamura, they exited the ring. Dorado was looking on. Kalisto ended up coming into the ring to check on Lince Dorado. And Lince Dorado looked like he was almost going to push Kalisto away. Then Metalik ended up getting in the middle of them, of Dorado and Kalisto. Kalisto ended up getting knocked down. And Kalisto and Dorado continued to argue. And I'm like, is this going to be the breakup of Lucha House Party right here from what we saw tonight? Maybe, could be. Or you could have Kalisto, go heel. He could work good as a singles competitor. But I wouldn't mind to see Kalisto as a heel and break away from Lucha House Party and be a singles competitor. And then we had Caleb Braxton. Well, I'm sorry. Caleb Braxton was interviewing AJ Styles. Styles ended up saying that he was trying to show urgency with Retribution, but Jeff Hardy ended up getting in his way. Styles ended up knocking Jeff Hardy for wasting his career and his opportunities. And he kept on mocking Jeff Hardy before the match. And that was basically that. And then we had Kayla Braxton. She was interviewing Mandy Rose. And she ended up asking about Sonya Deville. Mandy Rose ended up mentioning that this has been a rough week. And Mandy Rose was mentioning how it's been a rough week because of, that schmuck fan who did the home invasion at Sonya Deville's house, where Mandy Rose was actually in the house with Sonya Deville. And, this guy was trying to invade Sonya Deville's home. This guy was sending private messages, through Sonya Deville's Instagram account, which, she didn't even look at. And you see, we saw pictures on his Twitter page where he's obsessed with Sonya Deville. I'm like, did this guy know that Sonya Deville is lesbian. And thank God this schmuck is behind bars, and it's going to be a court case soon because of what he did. Sonya Deville's probably going to testify. Mandy Rose, of course, going to testify against this guy. But thank God that guy is behind bars. Hope he rots in jail. So Mandy Rose ended up saying that SummerSlam is in 2 days. And she doesn't know what is in Sonya's head. But she knows how she feels. She ended up saying that they were once friends, for the good and bad. She ended up saying that she needs to speak directly to Sonya. So Mandy Rose ended up turning to the camera. She ended up saying that they have been through a lot. She ended up mentioning, of course, the hair versus hair match at SummerSlam. She ends up saying that she wants to put this all behind them and get back to where they were. So Mandy Rose then ended up saying that she chooses to see the good in Sonya Deville. So that was what Mandy Rose had to say. And then we had Sasha and Bayley come out. Corey Graves was in the ring. Corey Graves ended up welcoming Sasha and Bayley to the Thunderdome. And that he has to know one thing first. His first question to them was, are you splitting up? I'm like, why would you ask that? It's like you want to rush all this and then get the feud between Bayley and Sasha going. Please, it's like WWE is like, oh yeah, we don't have anything else more to do with Sasha and Bayley. Let's just rush all this and get to booking their feud. So I'm like to Corey Graves, why would you even ask that question first? So Bayley and Sasha end up saying, no, they're not splitting up. So Corey Graves ends up bringing up how they both will defend their titles against Asuka at SummerSlam. Sasha's going to be defending the Raw Women's Championship. Bayley's going to be defending the Smackdown Women's Championship. Both titles are going to be on the line, and Asuka's going to face them. Which, to me, I don't know why Asuka is competing for 2 titles. It should have just been a triple threat. So Corey Graves ended up bringing up Asuka possibly leaving SummerSlam with both of the gold. But Bayley ends up saying, no chance. Sasha ends up telling Corey Graves to quit stirring the pot because they will destroy Asuka on Sunday. Bayley ends up saying that everything they do is for the company, which is why they have all the gold. And Corey Graves then ended up bringing up how Bayley offered to face Asuka first at SummerSlam. Bayley ended up telling him that this was just a suggestion, as Sasha is just as capable of, her going first. Sasha then asked if Bayley is trying to volunteer her again, meaning that, is Bayley just gonna throw Sasha to have, this match? So Corey Graves ended up asking if he senses a disagreement again. Bayley ended up saying no. So Bayley went on and said that there's no one in the locker room that can touch them. And then we had Naomi come out. Naomi had a mic in her hand, and she ended up proposing that she faces both Sasha and Bayley tonight. Both Sasha and Bayley end up agreeing. Naomi ended up asking which one will feel her wrath first. So Corey Graves then ended up suggesting that, if you want Sasha and Bayley, both of them, how about we do a beat the clock challenge? So they end up doing a beat the clock challenge. Naomi ended up liking that. She ended up asking which one wants to go first. So Sasha and Bayley ended up talking. Naomi ended up attacking and kicked both of them out of the ring, and both of them went out to the floor. And so SmackDown went to commercial. But I have to say, this segment was pretty decent. Sasha and Bayley, of course, still entertaining on SmackDown and on WWE television. We had the Beat the Clock challenge. Naomi versus Sasha. She ended up facing Sasha first. Michael Cole on commentary ended up saying that the one with the best time will get to defend against Asuka second at SummerSlam. So we had Naomi versus Sasha, and Sasha ended up Sasha ended up winning the match. She ended up blocking in the bank statement on Naomi. Naomi ended up tapping out. Naomi tapped out with 3 minutes and 39 seconds on the clock. So then Bayley ended up immediately coming into the ring, ended up attacking Naomi. And of course we had Naomi versus Bayley. Naomi ended up winning the match, and she won the match, of course, with that lame finisher called the Rear View to Bayley. And Naomi ended up winning the match. Post-match, you had Michael Cole on commentary. He ended up confirming that Sasha will defend her title after Bayley defends her title against Asuka on Sunday. So Naomi ended up exiting the ring. Sasha ended up tending to Bayley. Bayley was in a bad mood. And then we had Asuka end up coming out. Asuka ended up getting on the mic, ranting in Japanese. She ended up saying that she will be the empress of every title at SummerSlam because no one is ready for her. No one is ready for Asuka. So Asuka ended up dropping the mic, starts dancing around the ring. And then we had Sasha ends up exiting the ring, runs up the ramp, and Asuka ends up taking her out. Asuka then ended up running down the ramp, got into the ring, started beating up on Bayley. Bayley ended up retreating up the ramp, and she ends up running back to grab her titles from the ring apron. So Bayley ended up running back up the stage, and she ended up running right past Sasha, and Sasha was still down on the ramp. So Asuka ended up dancing around and taunting both of them from the ring. Then we see Bayley end up checking on Sasha right then and there. And that was that. So that was pretty like, what? Bayley ended up going right past Sasha. She doesn't, she forgot to check on Sasha right there. So, there you go. Little clue. Little bits and pieces there of their feud starting to a little but slowly get to progress. And then Jeff Hardy was backstage with a trainer. Medic ended up saying that he will clear Jeff Hardy to go as long as Jeff Hardy can deal with the pain. So Jeff Hardy was limping around, and he cut a little promo saying that he's going to be taking the Intercontinental title from AJ Styles later on. And then we saw Kayla Braxton end up approaching Sonya Deville backstage. She ended up asking Sonya if she has anything to say in response to what Mandy Rose said earlier. Sonya ended up saying that she has nothing to say to Kayla Braxton, and that she will say anything she does have to the entire world. So Sonya Deville ends up running into Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke walks up to Sonya Deville. Dana ended up apologizing for what Sonya Deville went through this week. So Sonya ended up telling Dana it's nothing she can't handle. And then Sonya ended up slapping Dana Brooke in the face and calls her disrespectful. So we all heard that slap around the world as Sonya ended up delivering to Dana Brooke. And then Sonya Deville came out with a mic in hand. She ended up addressing Mandy Rose. She ended up saying that she heard her earlier. Sonya Deville ended up saying that she gets it. Mandy Rose is second-guessing her own talent. She ended up saying that that's exactly what she said Mandy Rose would do. She ended up saying that Mandy Rose will end up facing her one way or the other. She can't get around that. She ended up saying that they will face at SummerSlam. But clearly Mandy Rose is bothered about being bald. So Sonya ended up proposes that they up the ante for SummerSlam. Sonya then ended up announcing that they're going to have a no DQ match. And the loser will have to leave WWE. And she ended up saying because she realized that hair or no hair, she's sick of looking at Mandy Rose's face. So Sonya Deville ends up telling Mandy Rose to wipe her tears and bring her A game. And she ended up calling Mandy Rose a bitch, and she ended up tossing the mic. So that was that. But, after, this promo that she cut, it was a good promo. So much that Sonya Deville has gone through this past week. Of course, with that schmuck, doing the home invasion in her house, trying to get, in her house and kidnap her. And the guy had everything. He wanted, he had duct tape and shit like that. Like I said, glad he's behind bars. And, glad that Sonya Deville is okay from what happened. Same with Mandy Rose. Glad Mandy Rose is okay. And from the looks of it, it looks like that Mandy Rose might be the one who's going to win the match at SummerSlam on Sunday. I see Sonya Deville taking some time off. I see Sonya Deville getting her head shaved and her getting time off because of what happened. So, that happens. I don't blame Sonya Deville. She loses the match. I don't blame her. Let her, take some time off from WWE. Let her recuperate from what had happened. Of course, there's going to be a court case. She's going to testify against that schmuck who, invaded her private home there in Florida. So yeah, good promo from Sonya Deville, and this is gonna make her be a big star there after what had happened. Her coming out and speaking of what happened this past week. They're possibly gonna make her into a megastar here. Yeah, nobody's gonna boo Sonya Deville after the stuff that went on this past week. And her coming out and speaking, her, thoughts and how she felt about that guy who's going to kidnap her and do that, and did that stupid home invasion, almost did it. But yeah, like I said, glad that Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose are okay. And so then Nikki Cross was backstage. She was sitting in a chair. She was worried. She ended up talking about Alexa Bliss and how she seemed off or different earlier in the week. And she ended up saying that she just has a feeling that something terrible is about to happen to Alexa Bliss. And so that was that. Then we had the Intercontinental Championship match. Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles. This was a decent match. Like I said, this match should have been on the SummerSlam card. This was a pay-per-view quality match, and WWE just gave it away for free on broadcast TV. I'm like, this should have gone down at SummerSlam. And you had the match end with Jeff Hardy using his knee brace, to take down Styles, and Hardy ended up delivering the twist of fate. He went to the top. He slowly went to the top, ended up delivering the Swanton Bomb to Styles, went for the cover. There you go. Jeff Hardy ended up winning the match, winning the Intercontinental Championship for the 5th time. And then post-match, Kayla Braxton ended up interviewing Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy ended up saying that, he would have said you were crazy if you told him 1 year ago that he would be winning the Intercontinental Championship again. He ended up saying because he was in a dark place and he couldn't find his way out of. Jeff Hardy ended up saying that life is always a challenge, but he stands tonight with a painful knee. But more importantly, he ended up saying that hope that things will get better for everyone else who struggled. And that was that, but good promo from Jeff Hardy there. And then we saw Styles, he's backstage, he was furious. Kayla Braxton was there, and he was just ranting and raving about him losing the title. You had Joseph Park there. And Styles was like furious about saying, how Jeff Hardy cheated to win because of the neck brace that he was wearing. And that was that. And then we went to the Firefly Funhouse. Bray Wyatt was shown. He ended up saying that he loves everyone. And he goes on about why love is bad. So Bray Wyatt ended up taking a phone call, and he then talked about Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman. And he ended up sending us to a movie with Huskus, the Pig, and Ramblin' Rabbit, which they were playing the roles of Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman. But I found this funny. They ended up kissing. Bray Wyatt ended up interrupting, saying, "Oh, that's not how it went down." So Bray Wyatt ended up telling Huskus and Ramblin' Rabbit to both get lost. So Bray Wyatt ended up saying that love can only lead to pain and suffering. The best thing we can do is be more like him. Of course, we saw flashes of the Fiend. And Bray Wyatt ended up saying that he cannot wait to get his hands on Strowman. So Bray Wyatt ended up sensing something. He looked at the camera and he was asking, "What took you so long?" And then we see Braun Strowman end up attacking Bray Wyatt, and he was beating him down. Strowman was dragging Bray Wyatt away, saying that he's not finished with him. Went to commercial. Then when Smackdown came back from the commercial, and we saw Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, they were still going at it. And we see Strowman end up beating up on Wyatt. And referees were there trying to talk to Braun Strowman. And then we see Strowman and Wyatt over by a loading dock. So Braun Strowman ended up launching Bray Wyatt from the loading dock. Bray Wyatt then hit the concrete floor. Strowman ended up yelling at the officials to get out of his way. We saw the officials run down to Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was, laid out on the concrete. We had an ambulance back up, and the referees and producers were checking on Bray Wyatt. We had a stretcher there. Medics were loading Bray Wyatt onto the stretcher. Bray Wyatt was not moving. Bray Wyatt was loaded into the ambulance. And then we see Adam Pearce, WWE producer Adam Pearce. He was yelling at the ambulance to hurry up and drive off. So we saw the ambulance slowly drive away. Then the ambulance just stopped. It just stopped right there. So the officials were yelling, and they were wondering, why did the ambulance stop? What is the holdup? They were telling the ambulance to get out of here. So then now we saw the ambulance backing up. The ambulance was backing up to the loading dock. So the doors end up swinging open. The doors of the ambulance end up swinging open. And we couldn't see what was in there. And so Adam Pearce was shocked. And he was backing up against the other officials that were standing there. And everyone there was stunned. And it was like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. So the camera ends up going back to the ambulance. And we saw red lighting in the ambulance. So we saw the Fiend end up coming out of the ambulance. The Fiend was standing on one of the steps of the back of the ambulance. And fog was coming out. You had the red light in there. And the camera got closer to the Fiend. And of course, when it was on the Fiend ended up sticking out his tongue again. The whole... And then he starts laughing uncontrollably. So the flashes of the Fiend were on the screen, and Smackdown went off the air. And that was that. But I really liked how they did this, with the ambulance backing up, the Fiend coming out of there, you had the red lighting and the fog, showing up, showing in there in the ambulance. And I liked it. It doesn't get me, hyped for Braun Strowman versus The Fiend at SummerSlam on Sunday. But like I said, I liked how they did this. But that was SmackDown. Overall, show was horrendous, and you all know my thoughts on, the Thunderdome. I explained it all at the beginning of the video. But anyways, that's it for the SmackDown review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And I know AEW Dynamite is tomorrow night. I won't be home for it. I'm going to DVR it. I don't know if I'm going to get out a review in time for it. Hopefully we'll see what happens. Possibly there will be no SummerSlam review on Sunday because I'll be working late when SummerSlam is taking place. So who knows? There may not be no Dynamite or SummerSlam review this weekend. No Dynamite review tomorrow. No SummerSlam review on Sunday. Busy life. I'm going to be busy. But anyways, that's it for the review. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.